Today embarks on a symbolic moment. I'm gonna do something that nobody has done in the history of motorcycle content on YouTube. And that's gonna be a 5,000 mile routine oil change service on my motorcycle. No, but for real, I do wanna thank for the 5,000 subscribers I have just recently gained. Y'all are amazing and I appreciate your support. So I figured I would do a routine service, but in all honesty, it's due for it. So it just kind of happens to fall into getting 5,000 subscribers and needing a 5,000 mile service. So I figured I would just combine the two and just give a quick shout out and thanks to y'all. And let's get right into it. Let me show you all the products I'll be using today. And on top of, I used to be very spoiled working at the dealership having really big oil drain pans, but to be safe, I have a whole bunch of small ones just to make sure accidents don't happen. But we do have for the primary and primary case lubricant, got my oil. I do have Syn 3. This is the last time I will be using Harley products for an oil change. It's just I had it from just working at the dealership and whatnot. But after this oil change, the following one, I do want to try aftermarket oils and see if I see a difference. So because I'm using Harley-Davidson oils, I just figured might as well get a Harley-Davidson oil filter. And I got my primary case inspection window gasket, the derby cover gasket, the 2 small O-rings for the inspection window, and the O-ring for the drain plug. I've got my lubricant that I've talked about in previous videos for throttle and clutch cable that I am a very big fan of. I have spoken about this paste before, but I couldn't find it, but I searched through my whole entire garage to find some of the products that I wasn't able to find before. I like to use this for lubricant on pivot points on the motorcycle, and I will show examples of it. My master tech passed this down to me, so I'm not sure how much it cost, but I can't imagine it's on the lower side of the spectrum, but a little bit goes a long way, and I got it when it was very close to empty when he got a new bottle, but it has lasted me a very, very, very long time, so I highly recommend it. I will try to Google it to see how much it costs to add to this vlog, but this will last you a very, very long time. I've had many questions about just general lubricant that I use on hinges, and I could not remember the name to save my life. But this is what I used at the dealership. I have it's very little too. Yeah, I'm very on that low end side. I generally, when I had those comments, I said really any lubricant is okay as long as, if it's water resistant, it's better. But this is what I used at the dealership. I do like it. I don't like it for clutch and throttle cables because it is have like a stickiness to it. But it is water resistant. See, it's highly adhesive, waterproof, load-bearing oil. But I do like it on hinges, especially foot pegs. I really kind of just use it on foot pegs, saddlebag latches and whatnot, and it tends to do the trick. And even the media door on baggers, those eventually tend to go bad with time, and this, instead of replacing it, I spray it when it can't close anymore, and this for some reason helps that latch work again. I wouldn't go out of my way to buy this again once it runs out. I'll probably just use a regular, just spray lubricants for hinges. I probably wouldn't, because I'm sure this also isn't, something you buy for $5. But while I have it, I will use it in this video. This is for my aftermarket air filter. It's air filter oil, sprays on red. So I haven't done my air filter in a while. So we'll definitely, check that out and get it lubricated. The stock air filters on Harley don't need to be lubricated. Those are single uses. Before you just go and start lubricating your air filter when you do an oil change, be sure to know what product is on your bike. I would refer to your service manual, or if you have an aftermarket one, hopefully you kept the instructions, but a simple Google will help you with that. And this is something I also have from my very first dealership. I have a few extra spare bottles that I never got around to using since my second dealership. I used the brake cleaner that they supplied at the job. This is just a oil cleaner once I'm done with my service before I wash my bike, just to get that extra oil off the bike where, water, and it's high pressure. So it works really great, but I also wouldn't recommend you going out of your way to buy one if you know, if you don't need this to do a service, but since I have it, I do want to use it, and it just makes the job a little bit easier. But it's just a high sprayer, high pressure cleaning, and it's pretty good at reaching hard to reach spots and getting rid of oil. Before I start the service, I am going to open the garage door for ventilation, warm up the bike, just get the oil nice and warmed up so it'll drain much easier and a lot more of it will come out of the bike. And then from there, I will do a walk around with you and show you everything I checked. Now, I won't be doing a big service. Just a half a year ago, I did do steering bearings adjustments, so I won't be doing that today. Plus, I don't have a jack right now to be able to even kind of demo it for you. My forks are still relatively good. I did them rather recently, less than 10,000 miles ago. That's less than about, I want to say about 7,000 miles ago, I did my forks. But I will do a general walk around with you and kind of, even if you don't have a Harley, most of the things I'm going to show you kind of go for all bikes. Just maybe like oil quantities will be different and whatnot, but I will show you the general of things that you should be checking for that you can do in your own garage when doing a simple service. So I'm just going to go over some of the places I checked over my bike while it was warming up. For instance, I checked for any oil leaks that would be on the rocker boxes, the head gaskets, base gaskets on both of these cylinders. Generally, you want to look over the whole entire motor, the transmission, and primary case if you have one. This would be a good time to catch any early telltale signs of a leak, whether it's from loose bolts, bad worn gaskets, or bad seals, before they become bigger problems later on down the road. Besides looking in the obvious areas on the sides of the motor and in the crevices, you want to look under the bike too, because sometimes leaks, especially like for instance primary, if that primary seal on the back of it starts leaking, you're going to see evidence either from behind, or if it's a bad view, you're going to start seeing it coming from underneath the motorcycle, or if there's an oil pan leak and so on. You also want to check for your oil lines and fuel lines to make sure they're in good condition and don't have any leaks going on as well. So the reason why I put this rag here, because I am renting and I'm worried that I'm so used to the big oil pans that I'm worried this won't be enough, so I'm kind of taking a gamble. I do have backup right next to me, but so yes, this is just a little safety to minimize messes if possible. So I'm gonna go ahead and drain. I don't know if I mentioned or not, another reason, before I even get into it, the Sportsters, their oil hose is not like really a drain plug, it's more of a plug and then a worm clamp holding it shut. On other bikes, they just have an actual drain plug. But another reason why we warm up oil on a motorcycle or in cars in general before doing oil change is because the oil is circulated, so there's more chances of, you know, if there's any debris in the oil. Ooh, that is black. That is blacker than the ink on my tattoos. Oh, yeah. So yes, oil changes are definitely important because you don't want oil this dark. I do know that my carburetor was out of adjustment for a while, so I'm not totally shocked, but it's just not pleasant to see when you're doing a demonstration for YouTube. So while that's going on, I don't want to drain the primary until I know that, you know, we're all game here. And I do expect it to be just a little bit short on oil too, because I did check it recently, and instead of just adding oil, I knew I was going to do a service. So when we make sure that we don't overflow these, then I will drain the primary case. I do feel like this is more than enough to get the oil filter out. I do have a Harley specific oil filter wrench. I definitely like it. The snap-on one I showed, if this one is on too tight, which it shouldn't be, I'll show you actually, let me show you a demonstration how that snap-on one works. So I've raved about this in the past, so I finally can show you a demonstration because this is rather, you know, I'm sure y'all get the point. You know, you just put it on and then you wrench it off. So I'm going to show y'all how this works in case, just so y'all know, get an idea of it. Oh, oil is definitely filling up over there. I can't forget about that. You put it on, and break it loose. And this is really great for oil filters that were put on too tight, and damn, looks like I did this one a little on the tighter side, but I don't have much wrenching room either, so it's little turns by little turns. All right, we're doing good with the oil. So you do it, y'all get the point. Nice and smooth, and once you loosened it, because you don't, sometimes due to limited space, you don't have much churn room with it. Well, what's it called? You don't have much room to wrench with it, so then once you kind of break it loose, you can just put on your regular oil filter wrench, and you're game. Let me get this off. Oh, nice. All right, I'm gonna take that off. We're still doing good over there with the oil. Just put that in there. It does help to open your oil cap to make the draining go faster. I did forget to mention that. So we're definitely not gonna overfill this, so that's good. So I'm gonna go ahead and drain the primary case, and then we'll continue on from there. Just let this keep dripping aside over here. I did replace my spark plugs also before moving here. So I know my spark plugs are still good. I kind of tried to do everything I could while still at the dealership due to my employee discount. So that's why a lot of things got done. Plus, it's more convenient when you have the big stands to put your motorcycle on instead of on the ground. All right, so that's not bad. That's not too bad. And then just take off the old O-ring that you have on here. Oi, shouldn't be looking at the camera. I do recommend, just so you don't mix up, once you take the old one off, go ahead and dispose of it right away so you don't mix them up with the new one. Go ahead, put the new O-ring on. Let me fully clean off that magnet. We're doing good with the oil drainage and the oil filter, so I'm gonna go ahead and open these inspection doors. Wipe off any oil that may be on there, and for y'all non-Harley riders, y'all are just kind of watching, I guess, because I don't think many other bikes might have this, so I don't know. Tell me in the comments if y'all have, inspection windows. The chain should be good, but I will show y'all. Take out that gasket carefully. Dispose of it so you don't mix it up. I like to right away to keep it clean. So in here, we are going to inspect the chain inside the primary case. So I'm gonna hold the camera like this. So there is an exact measurement. I will put it up on the screen, but with Harley, you want it to move up the length of the chain link itself. So wait, let me get a better angle. Any looser is bad and any tighter is not good either. And adjustment, I did do an adjustment recently back in Iowa as well. But this is where you would be adjusting it. You would loosen this lock nut, and then right here you would put a hex, and from there, follow the manual to do the adjustment to make it tighter or looser, and then you would tighten this lock nut back up. And if anyone's wondering, this is from back when I lived in Virginia, and I just keep it on for memorabilia, if anything, more than anything. All right, now let's open the derby cover. And just to make sure it doesn't fall, always keep the top one for last. But I do have a clutch cable here kind of holding it, but on the other bikes where it's just the derby cover and the clutch cable is not attached to it, I definitely do try to keep that last one, so minimize the chances of it falling off. And then just clean off any oil that might be on the edges. I'm gonna go ahead and move this out of the way for now as well. I did forget to replace the O-rings on this, so I'm gonna do that now before I forget. The little ones for the inspection window. I'll tell you, one of the biggest perks of working at a Harley dealership is the employee discount. That definitely does keep some people there. So I do want to do a clutch adjustment. I haven't done one of those in a while. So to do clutch adjustment, we are going to add free play to the, we're gonna add free play to the clutch cable. So we're gonna move the jam nut all the way up, add a whole bunch of free play to the clutch cable. And as you can see, a whole bunch of free play added, and this is the right time to go ahead and lubricate the clutch cable as well. So I will show that right now, and then we'll return to doing the clutch adjustment. There is a C-clip for this peg right here under here. Let me show y'all. Y'all see that right there? Let's see. Oh, yeah, focus. That right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that off. And you want to be careful because they can fly out. So you want to definitely be careful that you don't lose it if you don't have any spares. Oh. And ideally wear safety glasses so you don't have it fly into your eye. Boy, come on, dude. Oh, I had it pushed up. This will make it easier. There we go. Oh, there we go. So that's what it looks like. So when I said I like to lube pivot points, this is one of them. So I would go ahead, take this and my ceramic paste, and it comes with a nice little brush, purple paste. And I would go ahead and just a little bit, oh, that's a lot. Yep, just a little bit. As you can see, I did put a lot there, but y'all get the gist. I'm gonna put that aside real quick. So I definitely had a little bit of gunk build up in there. So you see, just cleaning off the little bit of gunk I got. Ideally, this is another pivot point that I would like to inside the lever. Oh, I don't know if y'all saw that, but it goes right here and it holds the clutch cable to the lever. I'm going to clean that up and put a little bit of the ceramic paste on that as well. Just the dab. Put that aside and just clean this off a bit. And you don't want to put too much. A little bit goes a long way. So I just do about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to go ahead and put this pivot point back in. And then we're going to put it back in. Put our pivot point in. And put our C-clip back on. So we're game there. So we have our clutch cable totally free play, as much free play as we can add. And now we are going to get a flathead. Where's my... And we're going to turn this screw counterclockwise until resistance is felt. Alright, so I just felt resistance there. I can't really show y'all, but that's where I felt resistance. And where you feel resistance, you're going to want to do back off 1/4 of a turn. That should be about right there. So there is our adjustment. We're going to go ahead and put this hex plate back on. Now we don't, I'll put that right back. You don't fill up oil here. We're going to fill up the primary oil through here, just mainly due to so it doesn't leak out. So we're going to go ahead and just put this gasket back on and close this ahead. And ideally you would like to do a service with your bike standing upright, but I'm doing with what I have right now. But ideally you do want your bike upright, and it does make it a whole lot easier, especially if you have a jack or to put it on a lift table. Get our adjustments done all the way to verify all is game. So we're going to go back to removing the slack. And you want to check the free play once you start removing it. So let me get a better angle for y'all. So you see this is still too much. So I'll say one thing that sucks about my setup here, because this isn't a stock setup. I had moved my handlebars, so speedometer got moved. So the clutch cable isn't in the most ideal setup just due to this bracket, and maybe with time I'll change things up. So it does make it a little bit more difficult checking the slack, but it's still possible. And if you can see, that's more than a nickel. Like, you want to see like a nickel to be able to fit in there. So I'm gonna remove a little bit more. So I don't know if you can see that, but that, I'm liking how that looks right there. So clutch feels fine, and we'll definitely do a test right afterwards. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten the lock nut, or the jam nut. Go ahead and tighten it. Ka-chow. Put that, slide the protector back on. So my dielectric grease is nowhere to be found, but I'll tell you that is a little trick, because these gaskets can be a little tricky putting them back in. And I'll put a dab of dielectric grease to hold it. And I think this is like one of my first few times doing it without the dielectric grease, so I might look for it one more time. I'm gonna put it just a dab of this grease right here. A dab there, a dab there. This is a lubricating compound. I usually use dielectric grease, but this is what I'm going to use to help hold it. I've never had any issues with it leaking due to you losing grease. This is the only gasket that I do use grease to help hold one, because it's just sometimes a little bit of a sucker to put on. And this was something my master tech had taught me, so it's not even something I had figured out on my own experience. And as you can see, much better. And then I'll go ahead and put my plate in. Where's this screw? Make sure you have that gasket seated all the way in. All right. All right. Now we are going to want to do this in a star pattern, in a cross pattern. Just getting them started. Now you don't want to over tighten these. Still want to go in that cross pattern to evenly put them on. So these do have a torque spec, but I am kind of just used to how it's supposed to feel on these. I will add the torque spec to the screen, but you definitely don't want to over tighten them. I did do a brake flush recently, so I do know the brake fluid is good, but that's for the rear caliper, and the front is on the handlebar. So we won't be doing that today, but I do know you do a check with you would do it every 2 years or every 30,000 miles, if I remember correctly, where you can just do a brake fluid tester and check the quality of the brake fluid, making sure there's no water in it. So now that we've got that covered out, we're going to pick up the drain holes. Got the new O-ring on. Now, a good habit to have is to start screwing in drain plugs by hand. That way you don't cross-thread them. And also to keep in mind when you are tightening a drain plug, while there is a torque spec, just getting it nice and snug is good enough, but you do not want to over-tighten that bolt. Over-tightening it makes the O-ring lose integrity, and then hence you can get an oil leak. So when I bought my oil filter, I did accidentally get a black one instead of chrome, but I'll be all right for now with it. But you do want to add a little bit of oil into your oil filter before, just a little bit, just so you don't have a harsh start. So we're going to pour that and then put a little bit of oil around the lip of the oil filter. And just get the oil moved around inside. And go ahead and install it. Now you don't want to over tighten it like I apparently did on the last oil change I did. So I'm going to get my oil filter wrench and just get it nice and snug, but not too tight. All right. Now this is where I would use my PJ cleaner to kind of just make the job a little bit easier and spray and clean from all the oil residue. Now about 3.5 quarts goes into a Sportster. I am going to do a little bit less and then verify oil levels before I add more so it's not overfilled, just to take account that the bike was not drained with it being fully stood up and that there definitely could be a little bit more oil in the system than I expect. So I forgot all my funnels at my previous dealership and I never got them sent back to me or anything. So I didn't order any in time to do this oil change, and I kind of, will order it with time. But right now I am going to use this funnel that I have laying around. And I will do a whole bottle of Formula Plus. I will say this funnel does work slower, but still gets the job done. And go ahead and install the new inspection window gasket. And you're going to want to evenly install the inspection gasket screws. All right, I'm going to check my air filter. So always get the right size on the second try. All right, clean up a little bit of oil we got here. For the most part, it isn't too dirty at all. I did clean it relatively recently, but I will clean it one more time right now and spray it with the oil. And you can tell I live by the beach because I got sand in my air filter. I don't know if y'all can see it. Where's the focus? There we go. But you can really clean it. I don't have air hose, so I would usually use like brake cleaner and an air hose to dry it off. You could just clean it with regular water and a, cleaning solution and let it air dry. You don't want to put it on when it's wet. And once it air dries, I will spray it with the air filter oil, and I'll show y'all how to do that because you don't want to do it too close so you don't get it too saturated. I put the air filter outside to dry, so while it's drying, I will check a few more things like brake pads and whatnot after I find my flashlight. Here it is. and belt deflection, even though I had checked that recently when tires got changed, but go ahead, just show you what I got going on. And then we'll check electronic components like the lights and whatnot and lubricate the throttle cables. So tires are new. Wait. All right, let's get a view. There we go. So we're good there. Let's check rear. I do know rear got replaced recently as well. There we got rear brake pad. Oh. So we're game there. So I was having a few audio issues when filming this moment. I had accidentally knocked the microphone adapter connected to the receiver on my phone. But when you are checking for your belt, you want to check the quality of the belt, check if there's the damage to the belt itself, or if any of the teeth are missing, and same as if you have a chain link drive, you want to just check the quality of it. But typically you would be using a belt gauge. I have been taught just by eye what to expect, so I'm kind of used to by feel what it should feel like. I will put on the screen the specs for this motorcycle with a gauge, a belt tension gauge. So as you can see, I don't have any turn signals. I took them off on the front end, but high beam, low beam, and horn works. Barely pressed it to, not spook the neighbors. We're gonna check rear lighting. So this is me pressing the rear brake. It definitely works. Front brake, as you can see, it doesn't work, and I'll explain that in just a minute. And let's just do turn signals first. All right, that one's working. That one's working, and we got both working. All right. So as we lubricate the throttle cables, I will explain why I do not have a front brake light. Inside of this right-hand control module is a brake switch. On this model, on some bikes, it's easy to replace. But with this one, it would be replacing the whole entire right-hand module and rewiring the handlebars. I'm just a little bit lazy to do this. So I will show you what I had himmy-jimmied to keep it turned off, because when it's not working, the light just stays on and you have like no brake light essentially because it's always on. When I do brake for safety measures, I do make sure to always press my rear brake as well to notify people behind me that I am braking. But let's open this up and I'll show you what's going on. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and lube the throttle cables right now while we're here first. Just about 3 drops to each side. 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry if it's blurry. And it's a good thing about this nipple thing, or the long needle. Makes it easier. And just get it moving around a little bit. So I think I can show you. See what I did. You would have to replace it. Don't be like me, but I will show you what I'll be transparent with what I did. Wait, hold on, let me get a good angle. All right, I don't know if you can see that. So if you can see, let me get a pointer for you. All right, so right here, let me focus in real quick. So right here is the front brake switch. I have it taped shut with Gorilla Tape. So the button, it's like a little plunger button, and when it's out, when it's working properly, when you compress it, the brake light turns on. But when the front brake switch is in op, even when it's not plunged in, it'll keep the brake light on, which is in its own a safety issue as well. So I have it closed shut, so it's like as if I don't have any front brake switch. Right here. And in due time, or if I ever get new handlebars, I will fix that. And you want to make sure your throttle always snaps right back. So that is definitely ideal. I will go ahead and lubricate that pivot point. And while we're still waiting for the air filter to dry, I will lubricate my foot pegs with the HHS. Now I do know the front ones are on a little tighter. Oh yeah, there we go. Oh wow, see, I lubed it up and it got nice and smooth again. Let's just do one more. It's definitely been a while. Just work it in there. Nice. All right, let's do the other side. So this one's not as bad. Now, on bikes that have like a shifter linkage, actually, that's really quick to undo. And also I would put the ceramic paste on the pivot point on that as well. But on my Sportster, I don't do that. Just kind of that on that is more of a laziness because it is more convenient on the other bikes. But if you do have a shifter linkage and a shaft going through, you definitely would ideally like to keep that pivot point lubricated. I have cleaned my air filter. There is no sand debris going on anywhere. Just to be transparent with y'all. And now let's oil her up. I do want to do it over this. So you're going to want to spray it about 3 inches away from the air filter. Allow it to sit for 20 minutes, then just check. You kind of want an overall even redness all around. Well, this one sprays on red. So let's get her going. Just going to clean up the edges real quick because I do like to keep things nice and clean. And we're going to let it sit for about 20 minutes. Alright, so it's been more than 20 minutes because I went and had lunch real quick. And so I got a nice even red all around. Camera's not really doing it justice from what I see on the screen end, but I do have it all around. I'm gonna go ahead and line it up. I like to ride with the rain sock because it being Florida, you never know when it's gonna rain, so I keep the rain sock always on. That's overall a simple 5K service, a routine service for my Sportster, but generally most motorcycles is the same as changing the fluids, checking your air filter, checking your tires, your pads, electronic components, lubricating hinges, checking for any leaks. It's kind of the time you want to dedicate to really inspect your bike and understand what condition it's currently in. So I'm about to do a quick test ride just to verify no leaks or no nothing, all the drain plugs are in tight and everything is functioning properly. And then I'm gonna give her a quick wash down because I have not washed her at all, I think, since moving to Florida. So I think it's just while I'm at it, might as well do it. But yeah, I did want to add, so while like going through my stuff, this is a little trick if you have to take out your battery. So this is one of those seat straps that a lot of Harley bikes have, and the seats that we replace or get tossed out or due to wrecks and whatnot, you keep the strap and you put additional holes in it and you put the screws for the battery and you put that onto the battery and you have a handle to lift it up. I will tell you, this has definitely come in handy. And just for y'all people at home, it's, you know, it don't even necessarily have to have that seat strap, just a nice little leather strap and just put some holes in it and it works perfecto. So you could probably even get something cheap, like a cheap belt from the thrift store, and kind of modify it yourself as long as you got somewhere to poke holes through for the battery screws. But otherwise, I think that's about it on, you know, just things I think I covered everything. I am going to take the oil, and I have some old batteries here, to a parts store to recycle. But otherwise, I can't really think of anything else. But do leave me any comments or questions you might have. And yeah, I think that's about it. I do appreciate y'all watching this video. I want to give 2 separate shout outs. First one being to Doodle on a Motorcycle for giving my channel a shout out. That was definitely unexpected, but very pleasant to say the least. I definitely got quite a few new subscribers just from her shout out, and you know, in the video comments where they had mentioned that she had sent them over my way. So I did want to give a really quick thank you, and that I'm just really appreciative of that. It's nice, it's just appreciate the support. And I also wanted to give a shout out to the people who have donated to the channel recently. I really appreciate all y'all do, even if the silent watchers or the people who comment on all my videos, but the people who take it a step further to try to keep this channel going and support it in the ways that they can. Just know I am truly, truly appreciative. And definitely everything that gets donated to the channel goes towards the adventures I have, and hopefully in the future I can do bigger and broader things with my motorcycle and the content I make for y'all. But for now, I do want to say I am very much thankful. And if you do want to donate to the channel, I have a link below in the description. But otherwise, that's about it. Y'all have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section. But thanks for watching this video. Y'all have a great day. Stay safe on the road. But most of all, don't forget to spread love to one another. I'm quickly gonna take those batteries and those used oil, recycle, and do my part in keeping the environment healthy.